This video is going to be on getting the contents of this blog post regarding the registry pattern working with CakePHP and Dependency Injection. And to get started, I'm going to start with a default instance of CakePHP and just going to get our database connected and so we can bake stuff, but actually I'm not going to use the database at all for this. So I'm just going to say no actions and I'm going to create a payments controller. And in the payments controller, I'm going to create an action called pay, and we need in here we want a number of different payments. So I'm going to say providers, and we're going to have Stripe. We're going to have Square, and we're going to have PayPal. And what I want to do here is I want to just modify this so that it's for our keys are going to be the same, and then I'm going to say array map, and each value in that array I want to use CakePHP inflector to humanize it. In other words, make it capitalized. And let's just double check that that's correct by dumping it to our, and we may just need array map return in human, and maybe with this remove that and put another one there, and that should be right. Right, let's start up our internal Cake development server and just see how that's working. Oh, and it's actually complaining about not having Zend assertions set. So I'm just going to go into here and go etc PHP, and it's 8.3, and we're just going to go into the CLI here and go find assertions and set them to 1 because it's a development file, but I'm going to have to elevate to root to be able to do that, and just jump through, set that to 1 and restart the development server, and that should be right. Now, so we want payments and pay, and that's what we're sending to our view. So we now need to go and set that to the view, and we're going to open up our templates, create a new folder called payments, which is the same name as our controller, and then we create a file the same name as our action. And here what we want to do is we might go just so that we've got autocomplete. So we say var and we go app view app view and we just say this, that will then give PHP, let's see if it works, this, let's see if it works, yeah, so we've got to autocomplete when we do that. Now we want to create, I'm just going to create a null context form here, and then I'm going to fill in just the forms controls that we need. So I want a one called provider, and the values, or the options I should say, is going to be whatever we've got in providers. Now the type is a select, and we also want it to be empty and say select a provider. Now we might just put that onto a few lines, and at the moment we don't have nice autocomplete until we get the syntax right. So that's providers. Now we might say, well, I want another field, and we'll call this one another control, and we just want to say, let's put a dollar amount, and I'm going to just say just a random number between 1 and 100 for that value of that. And finally, we want to say, let's close the form off with a submit. Alright, now let's have a look how that actually looks. So we've got a provider, and then it's just going to be a random amount every time we submit. And we now need to give ourselves the ability to switch between, if we have a look here, we've got payment gateway interface, and then we've got different classes. So we're going to make 3 classes. We're going to make PayPal, Stripe and Square, and then we're also going to create, I'm going to ignore that bit, and we're going to create a payment gateway registry as well. So let's do all that and get it working within CakePHP. Now this is saying it creates a singleton, so I'm going to try and do this so it makes sense in CakePHP. Correct me if I'm wrong. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is we want to say, well, I want to put things in sensible place. So src, I'm going to create, let's create a folder called, you could call it services or whatever you want, payment gateways, and I'm going to create a file called payment gateway interface PHP, and that one is going to be, let's scroll up to here, payment gateway there. Let's make that into a PHP file, and the reason I'm just making it interface is so it's very obvious what it is. Now we do also want to give it a namespace, so I'm going to go into my extensions and go find, I think it's namespace resolver, and this is the one I use. It's the CT01, I believe. Yeah, CTF0. So I'm going to install that, and then once that is installed, I can right click and just generate a namespace. Now this is obviously a fair bit of pseudo code, so I'm just going to change it to some basic values, and we'll just make that really obvious that what we're going to pass in. So we're not going to pass objects, we'll just pass in some values, and that's our gateway interface. Now what else do we need to create? We need to, just having a look, we've got we need to create different payment gateways. So coming back to here, I'm going to create a new one called PayPal. So payment gateway, PHP, and I'll change that if I need to. PayPal payment gateway, that's good. So this one, and we want to, and we'll make that really obvious. Now you can see here that this is now not lining up, so I'm just going to change there, and we're pulling in an API key. So if I just say public string API key, that should so that's property promotion there. So we now have PayPal, and we want to paste, and we're going to create Stripe, and the other one is Square. And we want to change that one to Square, and we want to change Stripe to Stripe. Okay, so we've now got our payment gateways. Now what we want to do, instead of directly calling these or instantiating them as it says to avoid like this, what we want to do is create a class that's a gateway registry, a payment gateway registry. And I'm just going to put it in here at the same place. You might want to move it around to somewhere you'd prefer, but we're just going to put it in here. So payment gateway registry PHP. I'm just going to pop that in there, and we want that not to be, and we probably want to give that a namespace as well, and we may not even need that once we've got the namespace, which we don't. Okay, so, and we need to pull in exception here. All right, so that's our payment gateway registry. Now we divert from this stuff, and we're going to go into doing it with Cake's dependency injection setup. So let's go into our application .src application PHP in src folder, and scroll down to our container registry area. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, I want to create a container, and it says in the documentation here that it should be constructed as a singleton payment gateway registry. So that's what we're going to do, doing it the Cake way. And this is where we just have to do a little bit of sort of coding to get it to work. We're not going to just do it like you might do in CakePHP, just providing that and all you would need, but we're going to use a function that basically will build our and we want to use register. And what we're going to do, we're going to register, I might just put that on another line, we're going to register our payment gateways. So we've got PayPal, and so then we say new PayPal payment gateway. Now here's where it gets interesting. We need some API keys, and let's just pretend that we need to source them from configuration. So let's go into src config and go to app local, and then I'm going to go up to here, and I'm just going to go PayPal, and I want an API key for PayPal and one for Stripe, and one for Square. API key. And what I'm going to do is just to generate them, I'm just going to use actually Composer, and I'm going to say run, and it's post install. And as you can see, it's created the same API key for each one, just so that they're different. I might just run it separately and give us separate keys. So post install. All right, so now there we've got our API keys in configuration. So basically it's saying pass the API key in here. So we go configure read, and this is where you can just type in, so this is where you just type in, so PayPal.API key, so that gives us our, and then we just repeat the process. Maybe you can just copy most of that and change it to Stripe, and put Stripe payment gateway, and obviously Stripe API key. And so we've basically now made CakePHP aware of the payment gateway registry and registered a couple of different payment gateways. So then how do we select them at runtime so that when the user submits their payment that they choose the right gateway? Well, let's have a look. Go src payments controller, and we need to set up a bit of code here to go if, and we just do the standard CakePHP is, if it's post, we're going to do something a little bit different. We then just looking at some code off screen so that I get this correct. All right, so what we want to do in here, we want to, with CakePHP, with dependency injection, we firstly want to specify a payment gateway registry. So we pass the registry in to our function here, our action, and then what we do is we use it to, we want to get out of that registry something based on the, and what was it we used in our file? So we just want to go back to our templates, payments, pay file, and I might just double click to make sure that stays in that GUI, and we want to choose the provider value there. So we go payments controller, get data, provider. So that's going to fish out of this registry the correct provider, as long as that is correct. And then what we want to do from there is we want to use the payment method. So then we say pay. Now at the moment what you can see is we've got no autocomplete there, so I'm just going to go and fix that so that it actually works. So how do we do that? Well, when we run pay, let's have a look what we have to do to get that working. So I might go into the payment gateway registry here, and then we get, what are we getting? Well, we're getting a payment gateway interface. So we've now type hinted the return. Let's see if that works. Hopefully, yeah. Now we've type hinted a port, and so you would say if you're getting this from a post, you would say whatever user data. So, but I'm just going to hard code this. I'm going to say 1, and then the order number is PO 1 2 3 4 5 6. All right, so that's all we need to do to get our correct payment processor, and then run the pay method on that. But let's see if it works. Our server is unexpected token. We've got an issue there, but we just need to the question. Oh, maybe that's what we're just need to pull the right thing in. All right, so now we've got our at least 2 of our payment gateways registered with the dependency injection container, and now we're just going to have a look at what happens when we try and run the code. Let's do that. And just call it payments pay, and if we just hit that there, we can see that we're getting invalid gateway. We're getting even if we're selecting something that's actually supposed to exist, we're getting invalid gateway. So let's go and find out why that is. All right, so the problem there is going to be some of our code in, let's go and have a look at our registry here. And at the moment, if we just have a look here at name and this gateways, and if we have a look at that, we can say it's looking at in array, and in array is looking at the value, not the key. So we need to just make a small change in here. We say array key exists, and then that should now make our code work. So we're going to select Stripe and hit, and then Square doesn't work, which we're expecting it to because we haven't defined it yet, and then PayPal does. But let's just make it nice and pretty. So at the moment we've got, it's not catching that exception that's being thrown. So what we want to do, let's go into our payments controller and let's wrap this in a try catch statement, and then it will just say this flash error get message. And let's try that now. So if we haven't selected anything, and if we choose Square, it's not there either. So that's now working kind of okay. Let's now just change it up a bit, and just show that we can, once we've created we can register. Let's register Square, and then we say new Square payment gateway. We do the configure read and we go Square API key, and then once we've registered that, and we go back and we can say, okay, does it work? And it's saying configure not found, and that's probably because we just need to pull it in. And let's try that again on Square, and we should now have all three working. Now, the next bit is where I'm not sure whether I'm doing it right or wrong, but let's do something else. So I might say, okay, I'm going to, when I do a payment, I want to pass the controller to, and let's do it, payments controller. Let's pass the payments controller in so we can do some stuff, and then go in to our functions here, and maybe we can just do one and then copy it all, but we're now going to say, okay, controller, and there's a few ways of doing this, but I think I can do payments controller flash, and success, and then maybe we can just echo something out to the user ID, order, and what else have we got? Oh, we can also say amount, and just so that we know, let's go amount, and that's 2, and then let's do class, maybe that's probably better, 2, and then that's 3. Now from there we need to do user ID, order number. Now the amount can be controller get request, get data, and we certainly need to put and then that, and then finally class. And once that's done, we have to figure out, why is that complaining? So I'm just going to copy that to all these other, and should be okay. Not real sure why that's not happy at the moment, but we're going to have to payments controller, which are obviously we need to pull in payments controller again, and we should now have a working example. Let's just double check here. We've still got to now pass in our controller. All right, now is this going to work? Let's see. and that's blown up spectacularly. Payments controller get request. Let's have a look. Let me have a look at that again. I lost focus for a minute. Payment gateway on line 25. PayPal, line 25. Now that should be right enough for it to work, hopefully. Let's try it. Okay, so again, it's probably haven't saved it properly. Now we should be able to use so and we might just do let's try that. Maybe that'll make it obvious that we're So now you can see just using that pattern, that registry pattern with CakePHP dependency injection, and how you can then at runtime pull the correct class out from the dependency injection container, which there's a lot of options there now. You can do all sorts of fancy things with it. As you can see as well, we can once we've got hold of the payment gateway registry, we can register new payment gateways elsewhere in our application. And this is just a very, very quick demo to see what you can do. You'd obviously do validation and a whole heap of other stuff with the data coming in from the users before you would actually send it to a payment gateway. But you can sort of see from this just how cool that pattern is and how it could be useful when designing your application. I hope it's useful to someone.